Hey there everyone, welcome to another video. So this is IGCSE biology and the topic we'll be looking at is biological molecules. And here with me today is JAIRUS who will be helping us in the explanation. So let's start.
Hey guys.
Yeah, go ahead, JAIRUS.
So carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. What is human made of? Well, the human body is made up of 62% of our total body mass, where 16% consists of protein, another 16% is fat, and another 1% is carbohydrates. The remaining 6% is calcium and phosphorus, which is mostly present in bones. And some other elements such as potassium, sodium, phosphate, and chloride ions. The DNA, as you all know, it contains genetic information. It makes up less than 1% of our mass. The organic compounds that make up the body of all living things are number 1, carbohydrates, number 2, fats, and number 3, proteins.
So carbohydrates. Carbohydrate molecules are made from three main elements, carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. And some examples of carbohydrate would be starch, glycogen, cellulose, and sugar. The simplest type of carbohydrates with the smallest molecules are sugars. As we all know, sugars are soluble in water and taste sweet. An example of a simple sugar is glucose. A glucose molecule is made up of 6 carbon atoms, 12 hydrogen atoms, and 6 oxygen atoms.
Now we know what carbohydrates mean. Now let's look into linking smaller molecules to form larger ones. So in plants, many smaller glucose molecules are linked together to form larger ones, such as starch, which is stored in the plant cells, and cellulose, which is used for making plant cell wall. In animals, many smaller glucose molecules are linked together to form larger ones, such as glycogen, which is stored in the liver.
Yes, so these are glucose molecules that are quite small and have a hexagon shape. So this form together to form the hexagon shape.
Now, similarities and differences between starch and cellulose. Now, what do you think the similarities are? Number 1 is they are both made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen only, which means that there's no other elements supporting it or present in starch and cellulose. Number 2 is both are made of many glucose molecules combined to form long chains. The difference, whereas, is the cellulose molecules lie straight. And number 2, but starch molecules coil into spiral shape.
So let's look at testing for starch. So the solution used for testing for starch is the iodine solution. The initial color of the solution is brown. So what is the method? So first of all, you add drops of the iodine solution to any food, let's say potato. You add the iodine solution to the potato which contains starch. So if the color changes from brown to blue-black, which indicates the presence of starch in the food, let's say we add the iodine solution in our potato. If it turns from brown to blue-black, which will state that it has starch in it. But if it doesn't change, if there's no color change, that will indicate that there's no presence of starch in the food.
Now,
what's JAIRUS?
Test for reducing sugar glucose. As Prasanna told about test for starch, now let's look at glucose. How do we test it? Well, there's a particular solution known as Benedict solution. The color of the solution, the original color is blue. The method is to add Benedict solution to any substance containing simple sugar, which is glucose for this case, and heat. The color changes from blue to orange red. So the orange red is a positive indication which tells you that this experiment which you did is successful. The color change is gradual. So the blue solution becomes green, yellow before turning into orange red.
Fats and oils. Fats and oils are also known as lipids. Fat is lipid that is solid at room temperature, and oils are liquid at room temperature. The elements contained are carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. These components can be found in carbohydrates as well, as you may recall. Each molecule of fat, on the other hand, has far less oxygen than a molecule of carbohydrates.
Now,
Jairus.
importance of fats. Fats are important for making cell membranes. Now, every living thing has a cell membrane. For example, humans have cell membrane. Plants also have cell membranes. They are used for making. They are used as energy stores. For example, camel. Camel has fats, and they used to store on the hump, which contains water, minerals, and also fat to keep them alive during the day. Mammals often have a layer of cells containing fat droplets beneath their skin for heat insulation, like I told previously, camel.
So fat formation. Fat molecules are made of two kinds of small molecules called glycerol and fatty acids. These molecules are joined together to make a fat molecule. As you can see, we have a glycerol molecule and a fatty acid molecule. When these two are combined, a fat molecule is made.
Now,
Jairus.
ethanol immersion test. Fats and oils do not dissolve in water. However, they do dissolve in ethanol. We can use this to detect their presence in food, what we eat. We can use it to check how much percent of fats, oils, carbohydrates, proteins are there. Well, this ethanol immersion test is only for fats. For example, you eat fried cheese balls, for example. So that is why we use ethanol immersion test to check for other foods. First, the food is shaken with ethanol to allow any fats in it to dissolve in the ethanol. Next, the ethanol is poured into a clean tube containing water so that we can see it. If there are any fats in the ethanol, they form tiny droplets in the water, which gives it a cloudy appearance.
Proteins. Molecules contain four elements in proteins, which are carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. Not all proteins contain sulfur. There are 20 different kinds of amino acids. Each kind of protein has different amino acids linked together in a precise order. Even if one amino acid is changed or moved into a different place in the protein molecule, then we get a different position. So there is almost an infinite number of different kinds of protein that could be made. Jairus.
Now going into protein formation, as my friend here told previously about protein. Now let's look how the protein molecules are combined and how they're structured. Well, a protein molecule is a long chain of smaller molecules called amino acids, which makes the protein.
Examples of proteins and their importance. So the first example of protein is the keratin. It helps in the formation of hair and fingernails. Antibodies, it helps protect the bodies against pathogens. Pathogens are basically disease-causing organisms. Hemoglobin. This is the red pigment that transports oxygen in mammalian body. Hormones. Insulin helps to control the blood glucose level in the body. Fibrogens and fibrins. They help in the formation of blood clot. Jairus.
Now, we have looked for ethanol immersion test, which is for testing fats. Now let's see for proteins. Well, the solution used for testing proteins is the burette solution. The color of the solution is blue. The method is to add burette solution to any food substances containing proteins. The color changes from blue to violet or purple color, which indicates the presence of protein.
Let's look at the test for vitamin C. So the solution used here is DCPIP, dichlorophenolidophenol. But yeah, you don't have to remember this long word, you can just use DCPIP. The color of this solution is purple. So the method here is you add DCPIP to any food substance containing vitamin C. The color changes from purple to colorless, which indicates the presence of vitamin C. So this is basically a table which summarizes everything we have looked so far for the test. Over to Jairus.
Now, structure of DNA. Now we all know what DNA is. DNA contains the genetic information in our cells, and it's a very important thing. In our body, we need it because we inherit DNA from our parents. Well, so DNA is a material that makes up our genes and chromosomes. The nucleus of every cell in the body, apart from red blood cells, which do not have a nucleus, contains DNA. Like we said earlier, we inherit our DNA from our parents. DNA is an amazing molecule. It carries a code which instructs the cell which amino acids to link together, in which sequence to make proteins. The sequence of bases in the DNA molecule determines the sequence of the amino acids that are used to build a protein. Because proteins have so many different functions in organisms, DNA determines almost everything about an organism's body structure and how its metabolic reaction takes place.
So the structure of DNA continuation. DNA is made of small molecules called nucleotides. Each nucleotide contains a base, and there are 4 bases, which are A, C, G, and T. A DNA molecule consists 2 chains of nucleotides coiled around one another. This shape is called a double helix. The 2 chains of strands are held together by bonds that form between the bases of opposite strands. A will always form bonds with T, and C will always form bonds with G. This is called complementary base pairing. Jairus?
Now, parts of a DNA molecule. Now, as you can see here, the A's are the bases. The pink vertical line which you can see here are the strands which makes up the chain of nucleotides, and the 2 strands which wind up together to which Prasanna told earlier was the double helix. So it is the shape which our DNA. So this is basically how our DNA looks like. The second figure.
The functions of a DNA in a cell. The DNA determines which proteins are made in the cell. It also determines the sequence of amino acids in proteins. So these are some exam style questions that I would like all of you to try. Make sure you put all of these answers in the comments. So this was the first slide, the second one, these are the third one. And that'll be all for today. Thank you very much, Jairus, for being with us today.
Thank
I
you.
hope all of you learned something from Jairus and I. Make sure to comment, like, and share. Share with all your friends and subscribe. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.
Thank you.